Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. Let's talk about the market because today, once again, we have yet another absolutely horrific day. Now, again, guys, I am here for the emotional support, if you will. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be too scared. I know it sucks, especially if you're, bought all the way up here somewhere or like all the way up here or whatever. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I know it definitely sucks. If it makes you feel any better, I have a little bit of one of my accounts. It's a small account, but nonetheless, relative to overall net worth, if you will. But I have some that I'm back holding at like 860 or something like that, if it makes you feel any better. But with that being said, I am actually buying right now. I actually started buying on my main accounts. The extra money I have over, because again, I have those most of the money is tied to puts, which again, I told you, 820, 800, 780, and 760. Those are the four levels where I'm buying if it ends under each of those levels, shares incrementally, essentially. But the extra cash I had left over, I am actually buying. I bought at this kind of 730 area to 740 area, mainly because it's just getting too low. It's falling much faster than I thought. I did not think it would fall this low already. I've been talking about this level for quite a while. I'm sure you guys know that I've been pretty much preaching the 750 to 700 level for weeks, honestly, at this point, I think. I just didn't think it would go here that fast. I really thought we'll get a bounce first and then go here, potentially even lower. But this does change things around. So there's, in my opinion, the way I look at it now, there's two variants. Now, there's still a chance that we can go back to 700. Don't get me wrong, before we actually get a bounce. There's still a chance. Keep that in mind, guys. That is not out of the question whatsoever. But with that being said, it's also, in my opinion, fairly possible for us. By the way, Tesla ending down 8.2% at 734, in case you're not aware, for whatever reason. But there is definitely a chance, in my opinion. Let me remove this quickly. There is definitely a chance that, in my opinion, this could be the bottom for now. Now, maybe it could be the bottom overall if we're lucky. I actually think it's possible. I actually think it's this kind of 730, 725 area. There is definitely a possibility that this is the bottom. But I wouldn't put like an insane amount of weight in it. Like I'm maybe like 50-50 at this point, in all honesty. It feels like a gamble at this point, like if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But the reason is because this is a decent area. This the kind of 30 to 700 is a very nice area of previous support and resistance. You can see here, right? There's a lot of rejection at 700. You can see here like many times. Even the 25 to 730 area, a lot of rejection here, a lot of some support here around this area. So this general level up here that we're at right now and slightly below, to again closer to 700, a lot of demand there. There should be an obscene amount of demand there. On top of that, we're pretty much at the level, like we're, how many points are we, what percentage is this away from? So based on where we closed, we're about another 4% away from where we were on the morning of the day after the war got announced, right? The Ukraine-Russia thing, well, the whole war and everything, right? This was what happened when that got announced, when pretty much the night that it happened and the market opened the next day and everything just completely plummeted and then recovered, of course, but nonetheless plummeted. We're like 4% away from that moment, which is insane to think about, just relative to, right? Of course, naturally. So that's something else to keep in mind. So that's not to say that we can't go any lower, even though lower than 700, based on the way this market's looking. Yeah, I mean, sure, it is possible. But with that being said, I truly, strongly believe that this 730 to 700 level, I would be genuinely shocked if this is not a bounce here at some point. Like I would genuinely be very shocked if we drop below, honestly at this point, even 725, but especially 700. Like if we drop below 700 and just keep plummeting down like this without some bounce, I would be honestly extremely surprised. Like it would be very shocking to me. Again, it is possible. This is a very brutal market. This is a market that's just essentially straight down. But I would be very surprised, again, because there's just so much demand. There should be, in theory, so much demand around this level that like I just can't imagine going much lower than 700. It's hard to fathom right now, at least, before some kind of bounce. Again, the way I look at it is, again, one of two ways. Either one is, option A is this is actually essentially the bottom. This maybe, maybe 700, but this general level from here to 700, potentially the bottom. This could be a double bottom bounce, and then up we go, and that's it, done. Hopefully the pain is done. It's possible. It is possible. But we need actual like signs in the economy that kind of give us that impression, I guess. You know what I mean? Like we need a, so today was the CPI number I talked about. I told you guys Wednesday will be very important. I'm sure you can see why. So the CPI number actually came in hotter than expected, which isn't good. It came in, but it's not like horrible either. It's like, it's more bad than good, but the good part is that it is actually lower than last month's year-over-year comparison. It is showing an inflection downwards now. It is showing a top, which is good. But it still came in hotter than people wanted to see it, which is why we still got a sell-off, because even though it is showing a potential top here and we're starting to go down, which is good, it's still not going down as fast as they want, which kind of still puts fear. That's, in my opinion, why this is happening. We'll see what happens, of course, right? With that, obviously not a good sign here, and this is why we sold off extremely aggressively, which again, I honestly didn't think this would happen. It's just, this market is extremely wrong. But again, even with that being said, I said, you know, even back here, I said, no matter what happens next, whether we go up, down, sideways, regardless, I still think we're going to be seeing at least, you know, 750 to 700, somewhere in that range. And we're literally dead smack center, 730, exactly in the middle of pretty much that target that I had. The only issue is that it happened faster than I thought. That's the only thing I was, I guess, wrong about, right? Nonetheless, guys, I'm expecting a bounce. Take a quick look at the RSI. The RSI is looking extremely oversold here, which isn't good. It's looking quite bad. RSI is not looking very, I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking very bullish. Yeah, it's not looking too hot. I'll just say that. It's actually looking, honestly, it's actually looking quite bad. So that's not good. Let's look at the MACD very quickly here. You can see on the daily, it's looking pretty bearish as well. Like, all the indicators are still looking bearish because we're not really showing any meaningful sign of a reversal yet, which is why, like, what I'm, I guess, predicting is more of just an educated guess rather than like several signs of a true reversal being shown, in my opinion. And the main reason is because, number one, it's just, first of all, again, naturally, I always say this, whenever you have so much green, you're going to eventually have red, and vice versa. When you have so much red like this, you're going to eventually have green. You need to bounce. It's just how it works. You can't just go up. You can't just go down, right? That's number one. And number two, again, with the support and resistance here that I talked about, the 700 to 725, 30 level, there's a lot of that back here, and that naturally will act as, you know, support now for us as we're kind of, you know, walking or dropping to that from up to down. But another interesting thing, and the reason why I personally started buying on my main accounts extra shares, even though I already potentially will be buying a shit ton of shares, if we remain under 760 by Friday, I'll be buying a lot of shares. Maybe I'll tell you guys on Friday, but I bought 30 shares today. Now, the main reason I did that is because, number one, it's just I couldn't resist. Number two, the VIX. Now, usually when the market is plummeting like this, you know, you have the SPY down, you have the QQQ down 3% again, you know, like all these things essentially, right? When you have the market just plummeting down like this, the VIX is a measure of volatility. This is the S&P 500 volatility index, essentially, where it's essentially saying how, oh, okay, pretty much the easiest way to think about it is if the SPY is dropping, the VIX is most likely going up, and vice versa. If the SPY is going up, the VIX is most likely going down. This essentially just measures, I guess, the fear, or like the amount of, like, you know, puts and like hedging, and just the amount of downside happening, I guess, is the way to best describe it, if that makes any sense. But again, the easiest way to think about it is that if the SPY is dropping, the VIX should be going up, and vice versa, right? It's essentially just how many puts are people buying? Easiest way to think about it, I guess. The fact that the SPY dropped 1.6%, and just the market in general is just tanking again, but the VIX, after doing this skyrocket from 18 all the way up to 35 in a matter of a few days, which was a decent move, right? That's a move of like, that's, I mean, freaking pretty much a double. But the fact that it's happening today and the VIX is actually red when the SPY and the QQQ are both going down and the VIX is actually 1% red almost, that to me is interesting, right? That to me is a potential other sign that, you know, we might look for a reversal relatively soon, at least a bounce, some form of a bounce. Now, again, the question is whether or not this bounce is going to be an actual bounce, and that's it. This is the bottom. We're good. No more worries. Or is it just a bounce similar to, like, you know, what we had here, or like what we had here? You know, just another bounce, just, you know, quick temporary bounce. People FOMO in, probably get burned again, and back down we go, probably even lower. That's still the question. So the main thing I'll be looking out for, guys, right now is ideally you want the 725 to hold. If it doesn't, we're probably touching 700. But goddamn, we want 700 to hold. Let's just say that. I really want 700 to hold. And I want to bounce off of this general level right here. Now, the question is, where will we bounce if we do bounce? One way you can do it is take a look at the Fibonacci. So we can go from up here all the way down to here, assuming this is the low, let's say, right? Let's just assume this is the low. Let me change this to like red or something. Okay, let's not do red. Let's do yellow. We can potentially bounce all the way up to 889. And if we're lucky, 940. I don't think we'll go to 940. But the fact that we're dropping this hard, the second there is some form of bounce, I think the shorts are going to be covering extremely hard and extremely aggressive, probably similar to this, in all honesty. Maybe still not as aggressive, but probably somewhat similar. Usually, bear markets tend to have face ripper rallies similar to what we had here. Just like you pretty much go up as fast as you went down. And that's usually like indicative of a bear market, which is what we have been seeing. So there is a decent chance where best case scenario, we go back up to like almost 1,000. I don't think that'll happen, but it's definitely possible. So I would look at the 68, the 618, the 0.5 and the 0.382. Any of these levels, I think we can potentially touch. The first level to watch for will be, of course, this 830 rough level. That would be the first level I would personally look for. But just based on support and resistance, you can see, I would definitely be looking for a break above, where is it? I would definitely be looking for a break above this kind of, level right here, the 780 to 785 level, number one. Following that, 800, then 820, and then this 840 to 850 level, 860, and then 880. Like those are like all like really important levels that we'll have to kind of break back through and go above essentially once again. But the first level I would definitely be looking for is 760. Not the biggest support or in this case, I guess it'll be resistance, but it's definitely a level to watch out for. But nonetheless, guys, we'll need to see when the market bottoms and then we can determine how far up we'll go. But I ultimately think that potentially we can go back up to like maybe 880, something like that, give or take, somewhere in that general level. Could be in the cards, maybe 860 to 880, somewhere in that general range. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce back up. And then we'll see what happens there. And if we break that level, then we probably go back to that low 900s that I was talking about. That's also definitely in the cards as well, in my opinion. But otherwise, other than that, guys, I am buying. It makes it feel any better. I'm not just kind of sitting on the sidelines right now. I am buying. I'm buying into this fear. There's a lot of fear. A lot of people getting liquidated. Another thing to keep in mind, one last thing that I want to mention is you can see this absolute astronomical volume increase as the market has been dropping. Right? Just a huge increase in red especially. And the fact that this was happening without the VIX moving at all, essentially, like into the green, implies to me that this is just straight margin calls. People are getting liquidated. People that got too greedy, that went too heavy into margin, whatever, and they're just getting liquidated. That's really that's all that tells me, and that's all I see from that personally. So yeah, I really think that once this liquidation is done, once all the greedy people that just went too heavy in margin are out essentially, and I think the market can start to finally look for a recovery, and then we'll see where we bounce to. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys. So we can take one quick look on the 1 hour, let's say, for my Bollinger Bands. So we're actually well below even the red at this point. Like we're just well below it. Like we're just plummeting really, really hard. Man, I would genuinely be surprised if we don't get a bounce from here. Like, man, I really would legitimately be super shocked if we don't find a bounce from this like 725 to 700 level. I would. That would be so freaking disappointing, man. So one thing that actually I do like, actually, now that I'm looking at the 1 hour, is the daily, in my opinion, is actually looking quite bad still, which tells me that we're still just in a general downtrend, just on the longer time frame, like weeks out. But the 1 hour actually is looking a little bit better, and the reason it's looking a little bit better is because the RSI is actually making a bullish divergence. What does that mean? Well, you should know by now what that means because I've talked about this several times. So you can see the RSI, the low point that we see so far on the 1 hour is about this kind of 21.5 level, right? Where did that happen? That happened when we dropped pretty aggressively over here back at 820. We are currently sitting at 730. And the RSI did not go lower than where it went on the 820. That is a sign of a bullish divergence, which is another sign to me that's telling me that, yeah, you know what? Maybe not like tomorrow right away or something. It could be, but the point is that we are setting up for a somewhat of a reversal. That is a good sign. So we'll see where that takes us. But that is essentially what I'm seeing, guys. I'm buying. I'm betting on a reversal coming up here. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But either way, guys, I've been preaching for this level for literally weeks. It just happened faster than I thought. But yeah, I've been talking about this level for weeks. So you shouldn't be too surprised, in my opinion. But either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.